If the making of this asymmetrical gathered dress shoulder ruched rope for pleats is your aim, then this video is for you.
Hello, so Malcolm. You guys are the best. You make everything beautiful and you make everything worth it. So thank you very much for all the likes, for the follows and the comments. And I'm so grateful for my followers, the ones who have been here and the ones who have to come. So I'm going to bring you loads of things because my birthday is in a few weeks, a few days now. So it's just a few days counting, and I am going to be celebrating in a grand style with different outfits, beautiful outfits. I'm going to make kiddies wear, and then this brightly colored outfit to make the beautiful gown that we're aiming for. So this is it, and we're going to make many other outfits. But because I want the best for you and I want you to learn the best way. So if there's any comments you have, just tell me in the comment section. If there's anything you want to learn some more, tell me in the comment section and I'll put it in a lineup and make sure I get it done. Before we begin, let's take our trusty apron to put it on. So our apron has everything we need. It has the rulers, the scissors, and our measuring tape, which is not crossed around our neck, and tie our belts behind, and we'll begin. Let's get right into it.
So these are the measurements we're going to make use of in making this outfit. So we have our shoulder. So the normal measurement for the shoulder is 15 inches, which is divided by 2, and that's 7. So the extra we're going to add to give the ruches would be 6 inches. And then we have our bust at 38.5. So we're going to divide this by 4. Under bust 33, waist 32, hip 43, gown length 62. And then shoulder to bust 10.5, shoulder to under bust 14, and shoulder to waist 16, shoulder to hip 25. So you'd see from this. So what I did was first and foremost measure the length where I would want my shoulder to that higher point of the hip, 22 inches. And then from this point to the lower part of it is 26 inches. And then the length of the lower part is 40 inches using my 62 inches length of the gown. So first, to get our measuring tape and measure the full length of the fabric, which is 27 inches, half at the top, half at the bottom for allowance for sewing. And then our shoulder is 7.5 inches because the shoulder is 15 inches, so we divide it into 2. Then we'd say measurement from the shoulder to upper bust 8 inches, bust point 10.5, under bust 14 inches, waist 16 inches, and then hip 25 inches, like we mentioned earlier. And then we marked it. Pardon me for the chalk, but I'm trying as much as possible to make it as clear as possible so that you can see. So I'll do the same markings at the other side. 8 inches for the upper bust, bust point 10.5, under bust 14 inches, and then the waist 16 and hip 25 inches. So that's just basically it, and we'll place our ruler and underline it all the way to the end on all levels that we've just mentioned. So before the end of the video, I'll give you a tip on how to sew an outfit without that. I'll give you the name of the page and as well as where to go and see the video. So just stay tuned. So right now we're going to measure our shoulder, which is 7.5, on both upper bust and the shoulder itself, and link them all together. So the reason why I'm doing this is we don't need this actually, but the reason why I'm doing this is for you to be able to verify if round underarm is correct and straight to the point. So this is 9.5, but let's get back to a round underarm. So round underarm, to get it, I would go out by 1 inch or use my curve ruler. You can use both. So either use a curve ruler or come out by 1 inch and blend it on both sides. So use a measuring tape to measure from that under shoulder all the way to that point, just to check. So I came down by 1/2 inch on the shoulder point, and then at the edge where we're going to use and get our ruches with our rope, I came down by 1.5 inch. Very important that you come down by 1.5 inch or even 2 inches, depending on how you want it, because it's going to stand up if it's not slanted down properly. So it's slanted from that point to this point, which is 1/2 inch, and then to the shoulder. So we'll still get back to it. So first and foremost, see all it is very clearly: upper bust, bust, under bust, and so our bust point. So this is our bust point. We're going to come out by 3.5 inches. This is for a slimmer person, so someone who is a little bit busty or bigger, we're going to come out by 4 inches or 4.5. So I came up above the hip by 2 inches and then linked up the line from the bust point to above the hip line, and it's very easy, just straight to the point. So I still had to specify the 3.5 at that point and then linked it up all the way to the top. Very easy and straight to the point. And after that, on the waist, that's the part that is the slimmest part of the body, so I would go out by 1/2 inch. So I'll go out by 1/2 inch on both sides and link it up to the top like this. So after drawing it, you don't have to sew in a very sharp manner. When you're sewing, just follow it up straight on the line and make it seem like a curve as you're coming down and not the sharp edge. Ensure that there's a sharp edge at both sides when you're sewing. That is the only way that the dart will be smooth. If not, it will be rough. So make sure you put into consideration this dart as you're measuring the body. So anything, if you're measuring the waist, ensure you add 1 inch to get to that point and every other small addition. So now I came down by, remember, on the shoulder, 1/2 inch, and then on the arm part, 1.5, and then linked it like this. Can you see? It's clearer now. And I would measure out, which is 9.5. So this part there's no dart there, so I could just do exactly the bust point. See, I put into consideration this dart. Can you see? And extended it. Then on the upper bust, the same, the bust point, which is 9.5, and then linked it up to the arm. Easy peasy, isn't it? And we're done with our arm. Very easy outfit. And then linked it up this way. So you can either come down by 1.5 inch and draw a dart straight to the bust point, or come down, and that's what I used. So I'll just link this up and then came down by 1.5 inch. Can you see? From the bust point. The other one I measured from upper bust. So from bust point, just link it up straight up and you're good. Just measure 1/2 inch, then link it up to the bust point. It mustn't even necessarily get to the bust point. All it has to do is just have the 1/2 inch, 1 inch allowance when you're sewing. So make sure you add allowance at the edge when you're sewing. So here, round neck. So the round neck, I did 3 inches out and then came down by 3 inches. That is if you want to get exactly that fit up. You want it to not, you don't want the neckline to be down, then you can do that. So remember that these are two patterns joined together. Our front part is folded while the back part is not folded and extended by 1 inch for zip allowance at the back. So I came down by 4.5 inch because I don't want that the small, I wanted it to go down a bit. I didn't want it to be so tight at the neckline. So I came down by 4.5 inches. If you want to get exactly what I made, or follow up with what is there in the other picture. So I put everything into consideration, marked it all the way through. So ensure that everything I measured, that is put into consideration all the way to our hip. Marked it. Can you see how clearly it is? And then see how to measure. If you want to measure, round arm is 9.5, which is 18 inches. So that's the reason why I did this round arm, so that I can be able to measure. So now adding 1 inch allowance for sewing, because I'm going to weave it. After weaving, I'll sew. So allowance, enough allowance to be able to sew the cloth and still be able to adjust it if you want to increase or reduce. So see, I added allowance for sewing even for the arm, so take note of it. I added 1/2 inch allowance for the arm and then 1 inch for the entire body. I just linked it up like this and yes, you're good to go. So ensure that 1/2 inch allowance is at the top as well. So see how I cut it, and you see the allowance here, the zip. I came down at the back by 1.5 inch. So take note of it, the back that was made. So this is the notch for the zip, where the zip is going to be, to ensure that we don't make any mistake in placing our zip. And every other thing done. So now this is the dart. So I came here, I will notch it still and draw it. Can you see how it is? So this is another format. You see, coming down by, from the upper bust, coming down by 1.5 inch and then drawing a rule straight to that line, and we're good to go. So this is the dart that has already been sewn at the front part, and this is the back part, the two back parts and our folded front part. So now we're going to turn over our under our round neck. So I'll use this bias to turn it over. So I didn't use exactly that color I showed you, so I used an ash color because I saw the ash color just blended perfectly with it, rather more than the green. So what I'll do is just place it around. Can you see? You can leave 1/2 inch allowance, but the bias always has 0.45. So what you're going to do is place it on 1/2 inch. Ensure that you mark it, or as you're doing it, you take note, use the machine to sew it this way. So that's what I did. I sewed it all around and got to the end by opening my bias to sew. I'll show you how to turn it over as well. So here it is, this for the back part. So I'll turn it like this and place it to sew. So here it is after it's turned over and placed it. So see how seamless and neat it looks. So we're done with our front part, can you see? And as well as the back part. So what I did is I'll join the two back parts together at the point of the zip. This is how you can make a very good zip sewing. I'll iron it down. Once I iron it down, I'm able to see the print, the point where it's ironed, and I'll be able to put my zip, place my zip easily and sew with my zipper foot. So you should have a zipper foot when you're sewing zip. And then for this, I placed it on it. Because of the dart that has been done, you'd see that there's a difference between the back and the front. The back would be a little bit longer. So you pin it down like this and you see the excess, see the down part, and this is what you're going to cut out just because of the dart you made under the arm. So what I usually do is after placing it, I'll still measure again. As a fashion designer, you have to keep measuring over and over again to get your perfect fit. If not, after you finish sewing, you'll be making amendments over and over again. So I'll do that and then mark all the points over again and see the allowance I'm leaving. I'll mark it all the way to the bottom part, like as you've seen here, like this with my chalk. And now we're going to sew the shoulder. I've sewn it, can you see? And then I'll now measure where the ruches is going to be, where we're going to place our rope. So it's going to be, so I'll measure it on the shoulder. It's 3.5, 3.5 on both sides. Whatever is remaining, that's where our ruches is going to be, because we don't want to affect the shoulder but just the arm. So this is up to 6.5 inches. So this is up to 7.5. The fabric is up to 7.5 inches because it's going to be folded at the edges by half an inch, and you see the length of it is 2 inches. So 2 inches will be folded by 0.45 on the sides. So here, this is the belt. The belt is 13 inches and then 1.75. So 1.75, see how it is. I've sewn 2 because we're going to need 4. So I've sewn 2 already, and this is the 2 that has been sewn. So I'll sew the other ones and bring it, and these are they, and this is the one that has been ironed and sewn down. So this is the place where there's going to belt is going to pass through. So I placed it. Sorry that you didn't see it fully. I don't even know what I was videoing. So I placed it on it and sewed it on that part, marked it and placed it and sewed on the edges, not locking it up, and then in the middle as well. See, you sew it in the middle all the way to that point, but leave the space for the belt to be passed. So before you do this, you have to fold the arm. You have to fold and sew the arm. So I had to loosen it a little bit and fold the arm. Can you see how it looks at the back? Smooth and beautiful. So here it is folded and I placed it on top. Then I'll use this manjo, hook it with my belt and pass it through. This is just a very easy way to be able to pass your belt through the outfit. So I'll pass it through like this all the way to the end. So like I said, the person, you could check how to draft your outfit without pattern, to eliminate pattern. Look for Letters Draft. Her page is very nice. She drafts pattern and she does beautiful pattern drafting, and you'll see exactly this picture I was using. I was surprised that I was making this video and I saw that she posted something like this and just felt wow. Okay, so you check out her page, Let Us Draft. You check out her page and see how to make an outfit without that, to eliminate that. So I pulled this out and after bringing it out, folded it a little bit, then pinned it down like this. Can you see? And it's fixed. So we're going to sew it down. Look at it. See how neat it is at the back. I love this. And we did the same for the other belt, the other sides, and we're done. Join them together and we're done with the top part. So we're going to now do the asymmetrical gathered lower part. So before we do that, like I told you earlier, this side is 26 inches. So this other side, the left hand side, is going to be 22 inches. You can go higher if you want, but I chose to do 22 inches. You could go higher and you'd even get a perfect fit. You could do 20 inches or 20.5 inches or 21 by choice, but I chose 22. So I marked it at this point and we'll draw the line all the way to the bottom part. So I'll use a ruler first to draw this line all the way to the edge. So after drawing all the way to the edge with this ruler, I would measure the midpoint. I want to find out the midpoint so that it doesn't look straight but have this little bit of curve. So I would measure, get the midpoint, the middle of it, mark it. In my case here, it was 10.5. So I marked it and then came out by half an inch to give me that curve at the bottom part. So you can even use your curve ruler at this point just to come out by half an inch and then blend it, and it just sits on well. So I used my scissors, cut it out like this, cut it all the way till the end. So please don't forget to like and subscribe, comment. If there's anything you want guidance in, I'm here for you. And thank you very much, dear followers, subscribers. You guys are the best. So I'll cut it all the way to the edge like this, and then get my skirt part. So immediately after cutting this out, I'll get my skirt part. So after cutting this out, I'll weave. So every step of the way you would weave it to ensure a seamless sew. So in this case, I did not place my zip yet. So I ensured I did this, cut it out, and then placed my zip before weaving it so that the zip doesn't fall in place when I would want to cut it out. So now this is the length of the gown. So the length of the gown is 41.5 inch. You remember that the lower part is 40.5 inch or 40 inches. So the bottom part will be on fold, and then the top part will be in 3.5 yards, while the length is 41.5 yards. To be on fold by 1 inch, and then at the top part it will be half. So I went and did the ruches, the gathers I mean. So after doing the gathers on my sewing machine, this is what I got. If you want to know how to do gathers, watch my previous video. I know I've placed several videos on how to do gathers smoothly. So in this case, it was just folded gathers and not through dragging rope. So I measured the entire thing and ensured that my gathers is exactly where I wanted, which is 19.5 inches. And I placed the top part against the skirt part and marked it. So after placing it, I'll just use my chalk and mark it like this. After marking it, I'll go to my sewing machine and sew it down. I'll just sew that marked point. I could sew above the marked point just a little bit. Can you see? So after sewing above the marked point, or if it's not that easy for you, what you do is get this ST. So this cutting ST is what I use. I cut a strip and I ironed it down to ensure it doesn't move, because it could be troublesome having to take time to sew it down. So ensure it doesn't move, and then we're good to go. So the back is set, the front is set, and then we'll just cut out and leave half an inch for joining. So after doing that, I cut it all out. After doing that, I weaved it to ensure it's neat. And so this stay can be removed easily. So I pinned everything together, and see how beautiful it's already coming out. You can see the zip there, see the pins, and then see the ST. We could remove this ST very easily. So I'll just drop the camera, remove the ST before I sew. And after doing that, voila! We have our beautiful gown. It's gorgeous. I love how it came out. I love the color, the print. I love the sewing, even the ruches on the shoulder. Can you see? On the arm and on the shoulder. If you want to make it longer all the way to the shoulder, you have to make the under fabric a bit longer. Isn't this gorgeous? I love it. Thank you very much.